Hey everybody, it's Josh. So, my last video, I described how the final straw with me as far as trying to sue Haverkamp Properties was Brooke Farmer, their assistant manager, um, having the nerve to knock my door after I tapped my ceiling a few times to get the upstairs neighbors to stop making noise. This is after a year of her harassment, but her coming to my door and especially bringing some guy with her, that was the end of it. But in this video, I'm going to deal with the argument Brooke was making when she knocked my door. You know, I kept telling her this noise has been going on for a year. You know this noise has been going on for a year. And her argument towards me was, I have to accept the noise because it's children making the noise. She just kept repeating that. And I said, no, I don't. I don't care who it is. I don't have to listen to this stuff. And she kept saying, but it's children. You have to deal with it. Now, here's where I think she's coming from. There is laws against discriminating against people with children as far as letting them rent in an apartment building. You can't refuse to rent to somebody just because they have children. And some judges have even interpreted this law to allow children to make like more noise than what an adult would make and get away with it. It's kind of like a let kids be kids thing. And this law is true too, but it's only true to a certain extent. Having children does not give you the right to turn an apartment building into your personal racetrack. It does not give you the right to let your children run recklessly without any regard for the noise going on around you. And it certainly doesn't give you the right to do that for an entire year. So I think Brooke is knowingly trying to hide behind this law, knowing that this law doesn't even apply here because things have already gotten way beyond nuisance factor. You know, as I said, the noise is all day, every day. They've been quiet for the last, they've been somewhat quiet for the last 3 or 4 days. I'm guessing Brooke finally messaged them. But, you know, for a year, this has been the way it is. And especially when you're dealing with children that are old enough to know better. These kids are not toddlers. They're not like 2 and 4. They're 10 and 12. Okay, so they're plenty old enough to know better than to run inside an apartment building in the first place, especially if their parents were doing their jobs and controlling their children. But for Brooke, the landlord, to come to me and just blatantly tell me I have no choice but to accept the noise, and I can't even bang back to get peace, and I can't knock their doors and ask them to calm their children down, and I can't do nothing about it. My only way out of this is to break my lease or to be evicted. That's not cool. That is absolute landlord intimidation. That is absolute landlord harassment because you're creating an impossible situation for me. But anyway, that was Brooke's argument. I think it's probably the argument she's going to try to use in court. But it isn't going to work because the law that protects families and children only protects them in the sense that families and people with children have to be treated equally to everybody else under the law. They don't get special treatment under the law. So they're not allowed to just run around rambunctious, just like adults aren't allowed to run around rambunctious. Now, there's probably gray areas within the law, like I said, for toddlers, people under the age of 5. That's a different story because they don't fully know what they're doing. But for everybody else, how are you going to say just because you have children that I have to listen to a year of just hell, just constant pounding from kids running all the time? And if I don't shut up and accept it, I'm getting evicted, or I'm constantly being asked for meetings where you're offering me to break my lease and you're putting threats of eviction on my door and all this. So, but that was Brooke's argument. That's Brooke Farmer, assistant manager at Haverkamp Properties here in Ames, Iowa. That's all.